memory, or like less of a daydream and more of like a, like feels like it's a memory almost.
Probably talking about like how he's saying that everybody who's gonna die at a young age.
Okay. Yeah, he's gonna be going there soon, thinking about that a little bit, right? So the next thing he says, and they're all kind of related, right? When's it gonna get me? What's he thinking about there? What's he mean? Shema? Yeah, like when's it kind of coming, right? How will he die? Thinking about that next, right? Next couple questions. In my sleep? 7 feet ahead of me? So I was saying, like, yeah, he kind of like is daydreaming through like all these scenarios, right? It could be this, it could be that, it could be another thing. There's like all these options for like how it could happen, and he's kind of running through. This next one I think is real, it's deep the more that you think about it. If I see it coming, do I run or do I let it be?
Is he kind of saying like what he dream like is he dreaming about his death?
Okay, maybe. Yeah, I think he's dreaming about his death, and he's thinking and talking a little bit about it. And what are his like kind of two choices? Go ahead. Go ahead, Xavier.
Running away or leaving.
Yeah, okay. What does that mean, right? Like I can read that, but what does that mean, Dan? Okay. Yeah, it sounds like he's talking about like let it be. It sounds like there's a word that you could put for that. He's sounding kind of like almost a little suicidal almost. Yeah. Like he's just kind of to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm tired of running. Like I get that this is coming, and just like I've accepted it. Okay. Next one, I think is the best one for like, we can think about what the meaning is, but like I think it's more probably in each of our own minds to think about, is it like a beat without a melody? What do you think that means? Marv, fix your hood, man. What do you think that line means? Like a beat without a melody?
God, can I go?
Yeah, hold on, James. I'm gonna get Marvin first. Think about it. I'm gonna go to James, and I'm gonna come back to you. But I think you're on the right track with what you just said. Yeah, go ahead, James.
I think like it mean like he's so quick to like remember it and just like he keep thinking about it basically. Like keep thinking about it and remember it. Like as soon as it pop up in his head.
Okay. Marv, you got anything new? Could be. If you're hearing a beat without a melody, what's going on? Like, how do you feel about that? Maybe. Dan? Something's not totally right, right? Like there's supposed to be something else. Like there should be something else there. Yeah, what's going on? All right, last couple parts. See, I never thought I'd live past 20. Kind of goes with the next line. Where I come from, some get half as many. Those two lines together, what's he saying?
Chicago.
What are you talking? No.
Right.
So,
Right.
right.
All right. Narvell, pause for a second because I want to have a good teachable moment here, right? We had a great realization where John went, oh, I see what we're talking about, something that we saw yesterday, right? And then day one of class, we said when somebody like comes to a realization, they find something out, they ask a question, they say something that you think is like pretty basic. The worst thing that you could possibly do is jump in that moment and be the funny guy and try and clown about that. And so Xavier, and like to a lesser extent, Shimon, I'm like super disappointed with like where we went with that. And I know it's been 2 weeks since we talked about it, but that is not something we're ever gonna do in here. So John, I want you to know like, hey man, it's new, right? You might not have caught that at the beginning. And if you're catching that now, better than catching it never. And thanks for acknowledging that. I also want everybody else to know like I'm serious about that. And it's just not cool. Right.
But like it was like so in space. While people laughing was like so in space. Not what John said.
Right. No, I know. I know. So what were you saying there, Val?
I believe no. It means pretty much like where we come from. Most of the people that's like his age. Well, most of the people like under 10, between 10 and 20.
Yeah. He's not used to people making it. So when he's talking about all these daydreams and stuff, like it sounds like kind of sad and twisted, but then you start hearing like, what's his reality? What are the people around him experiencing? And it makes a little bit more sense, right? His parents are dead. His cousin killed himself. You got like all like, and not to mention, he's talking a little bit about like where he like actually came from down in the Caribbean, which like things are hard. It was tough. And so he's working through this whole experience of like, what is going on and what's happening. The part that I think for me as an adult, especially somebody who has gone through some health issues and struggles of my own stuff, to hear those last couple lines, ask anybody why we're living fast, and we laugh, reach for a flask. We have to make this moment last. That's plenty. What's a flask? It could, okay, yes. What else could it be?
Well, I think it mean like for them like basically like a champagne bottle because you know like they celebrate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, totally, right? So a flask, there's a hydro flask for like science in water, right? But the flask they're talking about is like the flask that people put liquor in, right? They're saying like, ask us why we're living fast, why we living the way we're living. And we just like laugh and we have a drink and go, man, all we have is this moment. We got to make it last. Yep. Raise a glass to there. And they're just talking about how like, look, we understand that we might not be making it out of this. So like, what do we want to do in this moment that we have?
Celebrate.
We want to enjoy it. We want to celebrate. We want to make this moment last because it might be all that we got. And we know that. And so the reason we talk about this and like circle back to Hamilton on 9/11 is because I think there was good connection there to be able to understand that like, even if it's not your struggle, there's space to be able to understand like other people's struggle and where they kind of fit into that and how they kind of work, and gives us space to be able to go, yeah, I wasn't alive on 9/11. Quite frankly, most of y'all weren't even like thoughts yet on 9/11. That's what I'm saying, right? And so like, when we think about that way, it's easy to be kind of detached and go, yeah, it's not something that I have a real connection to. But that's not always true because like we can all share in each other's like suffering and understand where we're at. And quite frankly, is biblical to do so. All right, we are going to jump into a couple questions that I want you guys to answer. They're going to be on your Chromebook in just a minute. Don't go there yet. I just want to talk about what we're doing first. There's going to be, Xavier, it was 18 years ago. You were not, okay? You were about 4 years away from being born. Yep. 19 years ago, right? So you got to be about 23 to even have a memory of it, pretty much. If you're less than 23, you have either no memory or you literally weren't even alive when it happened. So that's a whole different, like, it just changes how you experience things to look at it that way. You're going to go to Classroom, and I want you to answer a couple questions. First, I want you to reflect on these lyrics and just think about like what they kind of mean to you, short, because we kind of talked through that already. Then there's 4 other questions. 2 of them are about 9/11 and just kind of what you know or what you don't know. And another one is kind of in between Hamilton and this, kind of the bridge to how do we understand other people's stuff. Head to Classroom. It's the top thing on there. It's called Friday 9/11 assignment. And fill that form out. If you don't have your Chromebook, we've got some paper copies for you. So don't worry if you don't have your Chromebook. We'll hook you up that way. Guys that are online, you can head to that same exact thing. And Friday 9/11 assignment, there's a Google form that has 4 questions on it for you to be thinking about. The lyrics are on there too. I'm going to put a timer up for about 8 minutes for us to be able to work quick and kind of diligent. Don't think too hard about it. Just put your first thought that comes down when we're looking at these things. Make sure that first thought about like, what are you experiencing and what are you thinking about is coming down on there. On that Google form, the lyrics are on there. Anybody in here not have a Chromebook and is doing it on paper? Okay. So I'll throw the lyrics back up there for you, Shimon. What was your other question?
I'll say like, middle school, I was thinking about 9/11. We watched the video of the phone calls that people was making to their families.
Yeah.
Like heading to the building and things like that.
Unreal, huh? Take about 8 minutes, work on these questions. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of what Shimon just talked about and a couple other things.
Yeah.
Okay, timer says like 30 more seconds. Eyes up here quick, guys. If you need like another 2 minutes, I'm seeing 2 minutes. Would that be cool? Okay, is that about enough? All right, I'm gonna put 2 more minutes on there, so it'll be 2:30 instead of 2:20. Appreciate the way you guys are working hard on this. Keep going. Great. Guys that are online, in case you missed it, we're working on the 9/11 questions, which are on the very top of Google Classroom right now. Okay, if you're not totally finished, I'll give you another minute or two at the end to be able to kind of wrap those up, but pause for those right now. We want to talk through a little bit of like our experience. We have 6 minutes left. I'm gonna take like a couple minutes to just talk through a little bit of our experience having lived it. Again, being like younger than you guys are right now, but not a whole lot younger. So pause if you're not totally finished. That's okay. We'll get there. We just want to walk through a little bit of that. I was in 6th grade, and the school day had already started. Mr. Smith said a minute ago, or last hour, I guess, it was a Tuesday. It was like a Tuesday, just regular kind of school day for the week. I was sitting in my 6th grade English class, which was shaped kind of like our room is right now, except the front was over there and the back was over here. So I was sitting like almost exactly right here. And the door, no, in like my elementary school that I grew up in Crivets at. So about 2.5 hours from here. sitting in class, and the 7th grade English teacher came to the door. There wasn't that shelf thing, so you could like see people talking in the doorway. And the 7th grade teacher had tears in her eyes. And that seemed like a weird thing for a Tuesday morning at a, middle school. And so they went right from having this whispered conversation to the teacher turning on these big old mounted TVs that used to be in classrooms. They're probably the same TVs that we have when I was a kid, because they were like up there mounted on the shelf. Anyways, they turned those TVs on, and we watched those for what felt like probably the rest of the morning. And then eventually at lunch, they were like, hey, we got to turn the TVs off and try and have like a normal day, wink, wink. And later that day, we had a tornado warning. Like a tornado didn't come through, but it was one of those, like in elementary school, they make you go and, do your like duck and cover thing. And for little kids, like as an adult, I get that they weren't connected. But as a little kid, it sure felt like those things were connected. That like we're watching all this stuff, and now we got to go hide in the locker room. Like, what the heck? The world is over. Is what it felt like. Kids were crying. It was crazy. And I remember going home. My dad used to work at home, and so he was always down in the basement working when I got home. But that day, he was up sitting on the couch watching TV, which was never, ever something that he ever would have been doing. And it was the same deal. I talked about this in assembly this morning, so I'll keep it short. But he had tears in his eyes. That was the only time in the first 30 years of life, I've only seen tears in my dad's eyes twice. First time was 9/11, and I wouldn't see it again for another like 10 years. And so it blew my mind and made me think like, man, something serious. I don't totally get it either. Something serious is going on here. A couple minutes for Mr. Smith to kind of talk about it. We'll talk about maybe questions or things that are lingering out there, and then give you guys a chance to wrap up.
Yeah, I was in, you were in six, I was in six, I was 11 years old. The day before September 10th, I had an allergic reaction, so I didn't go to school. And then September 11th, I actually went to the doctor to get like the scratch test done or whatever for my allergies. And only thing I remember is on the way to the ride there, like every radio station, like no music, no nothing, like it was just straight. New York has been bombed, they hijacked planes, the trade centers exploded, all types of stuff. Then when I got to the doctor's office, it was like quiet. Like, nobody saying nothing. People was just like sickening, like their family had died or something. It was like, it was crazy. Then like I really knew something because I didn't really understand what was going on. But when you're a kid, you understand something go wrong when you get home and you cut the TV on and you turn to one of your favorite stations and they got breaking news on there, like not normal, like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. I'm just trying to go home and watch cartoons, but every literally TV station is talking about America has been bombed. And it's like, bro, I don't care about that. As a kid, you just want to watch TV and all that stuff. You ain't got to go to school, but back then, I didn't really realize what was going on, but like I knew something was up because every TV station was literally talking about the bombing, and every radio station was talking about the bombing, and it was like, whoa, like this must be a big deal. So
It took a long time, I think the point of that is like, it took a long time for us who lived through it to totally understand like what is going on. So if you're feeling like you don't totally get it, it makes sense, right? It's a whole different scenario. Take another minute or two to wrap some of those things up. If you're finished and you have questions, we got like 30 seconds or a minute to kind of think about some of those. I don't want to go in like weird, like conspiracy theory stuff, but just like legit question. What's up?
I was gonna say like, how did like the building do like
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest piece to that is that like the buildings are just so heavy that like to make a building tip over is like, especially one that's that big and that heavy, it's like next to impossible. But you can break enough stuff that it'll kind of like fall down on itself. It's not like Jenga. Like when you play Jenga, you guys ever played Jenga, and it starts to lean because you're taking out pieces from the bottom and kind of like tipping over. But this is different where like it just kind of falls down on itself. Yeah, it's weird. Anyways, Bell Ring, you guys can go to lunch if you want. There's lots that you can still talk about. If you're not done with those questions, if you wouldn't mind finishing those before you leave, then you're no homework for the weekend. See you Monday.
It was like a TikTok, you had like the $20 picture, like a $20. Yeah.